This is a different solution for the trust complexity challenge. Probably better in the long term for interfederation, but both solutions will probably survive in interesting combination. And that solution is central metadata instead of a central issuer. Instead of resigning each token, they only collect all the metadata and sign the metadata and make it available. The advantage is the same as the other one, less configuration issue because you just need to fetch the metadata in one place. The disadvantage is again a single point of failure, but short outages of metadata are not as bad as short outages of the central issuer. But this one will be very fault tolerant too, because nobody wants the hassle of retries, etc. In theory, in practice too, of course, the central metadata signer can still do a man-in-the-middle attack by supplying you with the wrong metadata, and then you would go to the wrong party, and it could be that it is a malicious metadata collector, or it could be compromised. But if you want, you can implement some countermeasures, and they are a little bit easier than the central issuer. Now, this is a very common scheme. It is used a lot in the world. I do not know market percentages, but I would not be surprised if this is 95% of the world market. And how does it work? There is an outer entities descriptor element in the metadata, and the signature is over that outer element. So it's an envelope signature. And then per federation participant, there is an entity descriptor element. That element is basically the same as an individual IDP or a service provider or combination of the both would provide it. So the central signer is nothing more than a collector and a resigning. Now the bad news, the ouch. ADFS2 out of the box does not support multiple entity descriptors within the outer entities plural descriptor. And that hurts. For ADFS2, all the role descriptions of an entity ID must be in the same entity descriptor, and it doesn't want to see more than one. So there are some workarounds for this. To be honest, I never understood why this part was lacking. I have no idea. If anybody can ever tell me, then I can try to convince them that it was a mistake. Okay, do realize that there can be thousands of entity descriptor sub-elements in a large federation. You heard that right? Thousands. So let's take a look at one of those metadata files. I'm going to show you a nice federation metadata file, one from In Common that I picked up some time ago to research on something. Now, it's loading the metadata file, and it will take some time. But we're not going to wait for that. We're just going on. At some point in time, it will stop loading this. So remember that I said they are huge. Okay, let's click the signature closed. I'm not going to wait for anything. If I would scroll down, it would probably block me somewhere. Oh, there we are. It took some time to load. This is a local disk file. It's not over the internet. It's a local disk file. Okay, as I said, there is the entities descriptor in plural. And if I do that, then it collapses everything, which is exactly what I don't want. And then there is an entity descriptor. So one with below that multiple entity descriptors. And here is another entity descriptor. And here is another entity descriptor. And it goes on for thousands. So let's take a look. This is SAML metadata. It uses extensions for shibboleth. No surprise there for In Common. Okay, the signature, there's nothing really interesting about that one. Let's take a look at this one because it is somewhat interesting. First of all, I said that there are entity IDs with URN. And this one is URN Maze In Common, and it uses a part of their fully qualified domain name to make it unique. So if anybody would use the same start, saying I'm in the In Common Federation, and then part of their domain name, that's perfectly unique. Okay, this is an IDP. This is an error URL, and it supports shibboleth 1 and SAML 1. ADFS doesn't, so this is not an interesting one for us. Let's take a look at this one. Here we have an SP which supports 1 and 2. That's already more interesting because we do not do 1, we do only 2, but that's okay. Some extensions, I'm not going to look at those. Keys, and here are bindings 1, 1, 1, 1, and here are the SAML2 bindings. And this is a post, we can do that. And there's an endpoint, yeah, there it is, the endpoint. Remember that I said they can be the same endpoint, they can be different endpoint, it doesn't really matter. Good. I actually only wanted to show you the size. And that you cannot just read this metadata with ADFS. You'll have to find something or somebody which extracts part of these entity descriptors and presents them to you one at a time. Now there's several people who have made workarounds for that, of course, but I have not seen a very nice one up to now. Okay, that was it as far as the in-common metadata was concerned.